Okay, my friends, here it is. The video that's going to show you exactly how to make the ancient superfood known as kimchi. Now, there are many different ways to make kimchi, but I'm going to show you the way that I was taught many years ago and the way that I do it regularly. Kimchi has become a staple of my diet and of my life because it's a wonderful way to store stuff all throughout the winter that comes from the garden, and it's full of probiotics and life force and nourishment and flavor and all the good stuff. So learn this method I'm about to show you, and then you can adjust it to your own taste. There's so many different ways to make it. I'm just going to show you one way that is very effective. So let us get into it. Okay, first thing you want to do is grow you some Napa cabbage, and it's also called Chinese cabbage, and it's ready when it gets nice and firm on the inside and the exterior leaves sort of fall to the ground. That's when it's ready to harvest, and we try to leave as many of the roots as we can. And then we remove all of the outside leaves so that we are left with just the beautiful interior. Now the next thing that we're going to need is a daikon radish. These are also called tillage radishes. And this one is quite large, and you'll see why they're called tillage radishes because they really make a huge gaping hole in the ground. This one is quite impressive. Next ingredient is green onions. Now green onions are a perennial that will easily survive the winters of a zone 5 and even colder, and it just keeps multiplying and multiplying, and you really have to kind of thin them out. But we want to use the nice pungent part, the white part with some of the green. Now the next thing we're going to use is ginger. Yes, this is ginger homegrown in zone 5B 6A northern Indiana. Let me know if you want to see a growing guide on that. And this is the cayenne peppers from the grow bag method that you saw the video of in the spring. Still going strong. Next thing is garlic. Garlic that we planted last fall and harvested in July. It's going to store all winter long, but we're going to be replanting a lot of that pretty soon. Now here you go. Here's all the ingredients except for the carrots. Now I want to show you, look at the grow bag method. This is the potato grow bag method, and I am growing carrots in it. It works wonderful to grow nice, big, plump carrots because carrots like a nice, soft, fluffy kind of soil. So as you can see here, it grows them nice and thick and very delicious and hearty. So the grow bag method is good for many other things, including beets. You see here, I just want to show you monstrous beets in the grow bag method. It all works and it's all good. So get on the grow bag train. Okay, next step is we are going to wash all the produce. Now, this stuff is grown beyond organically, of course, and so it does not absolutely require that you skin it, but I found the tastiest results if you give it a light skinning. Now, I have not fertilized this stuff in probably a month, so I get that question a lot. Now, this is the Chinese cabbage, nice and solid. We removed all the outer leaves. Now we are ready for the beginning to cut the Chinese cabbage. So here's how I like to cut the cabbage. I cut it in half, and then I cut it in half again, so I quarter it, and then I slice it into about 2-inch chunks. Some people leave it whole, but I found best results if you chop it up. See, and right there, we just add a little bit of mustard green leaves if you have them. Really adds a spice. So it doesn't matter so much how you chop it up, but the next step is the same. We are going to salt it heavily. Now this is real salt, pink Himalayan or sea salt, and we're going to use about a half cup. And we're going to put it all over, and we're going to make sure that it's coated completely over all the leaves, because we're not actually going to consume the salt, don't worry. We're just going to utilize this salt to pull the moisture out of the cabbage, and it's called salting the cabbage. And then we're actually going to rinse it off in a few hours. So don't worry about using that much salt. Just use plenty of salt, half cup or so. Quarter cup could also work. But you see, after about a half hour, some of the water is starting to collect in the bottom and the leaves are starting to wilt. Now we're going to leave this for about 3 hours, and it's going to pull lots of the water out. Now in the meantime, we are going to take all of our vegetables and we're going to slice them up. You can slice them however you want, of course, but I use a technique that I guess you would call this julienne them. You know, you essentially turn them all into matchsticks. And this is what I found is the best consistency for the finished product, especially with the carrot. You don't want to leave too big a chunks of carrots because they can be real hardy. You know, so we're going to chop up everything, and this is what it looks like. We're going to have garlic, ginger, green onions, carrots, and the daikon radish. And now we are ready for the next step. Okay, now at this point, you have come up to pretty much the standard operating procedure of kimchi. So the ingredients, the way we prepare them, all that is going to be the same pretty much throughout all kimchi recipes. But now this next part, there's great variation in it. Some use fish sauce, some use shrimp, some use a pear, some use soy sauce. So you can do multiple different ways, but I will show you the way that I do it that I really like. Okay, so you could also replace the ingredients you'll see with just the rice and a tablespoon of soy sauce. That will also get it done, more or less, but this is the good way, my friends. And remember, we don't get hung up about exact measurements. It's just approximate. It's all good. Okay, now we're gonna take one shiitake mushroom and put it in the saucepan with a large pinch of dashi. If you're accustomed to Oriental cooking, you already know what this is. And then the next thing is going to be about a 1-inch sliver of kombu, which is a seaweed. And we're gonna put all of this into a saucepan with about a 1/4 cup dry of rice. And then we're going to add about a 1/2 cup to about a cup of water. And way more than we would actually add for cooking the rice. And then we're gonna boil it for about 30 minutes until everything is nice and the flavors are all marinated together. Now comes the part where we make the paste. So we're gonna use about a handful of garlic and about a handful and a half of ginger. I like mine real gingery. So remember, don't get hung up on the measurements. Just about a handful or so of garlic and of the ginger. And then here is the red pepper powder, and this is very important. You can get Korean red pepper powder, or I make my own. This is actually a special blend of peppers that I make specifically for this. So then I'm gonna add some cayenne flakes because I like it nice and spicy. These are all from the garden. And then here's the secret ingredient, a heaping tablespoon of miso paste. Then we're going to take this rice mixture that has been boiling for about 1/2 hour to 45 minutes. It's nice and like a slurry. And then we're going to take about 3/4 to a cup of this mixture, and we're going to put that into the blender. Now, this is important because it's going to give all kinds of good consistency and flavor that we need. Then we're going to add just a little bit of water. Okay, next step is we are going to liquefy all of the ingredients we just put into the blender. Now, the Vitamixer does a great job of this. I like to put it on medium so that it's completely liquefied. Now, we're going to take the cabbage that has been sitting for about 3 to 4 hours, and you see how much water has been drawn out of the leaves of this? I didn't add any water to this cabbage. That's its own brine coming out of it. And so now we are going to rinse the cabbage very thoroughly. This is a very important step, my friends, because we use so much salt, but that's to draw out the water. And now there's salt within the tissue of the plant material. So we give it a really good rinse, and then we are going to let it drip dry completely. So I let it drip dry another 1/2 hour to an hour, something like this. Okay, next step is we are going to take a very large mixing bowl, and we are going to place all of the ingredients within the bowl. And I have a glove on because I don't like the irritation of the pepper sauce. So you can do either way. But then add the pepper sauce with all the mixture of the vegetables and give it a good thorough mix. You really want to make sure that everything is mixed up thoroughly, that there's no vegetable left untouched. And once it looks about like this, so that everything is completely coated, we are then going to place it into our fermentation chamber. And when we do this, it's very important that we make sure that we pack down the sides and that we pack it all down, because it's not really liquid. So we want to make sure that we squeeze out all the air bubbles. This step is important for the fermentation to happen accurately. And so as you can see by this, there is no air bubbles in here. Everything is submerged in the brine, and this is all looking pretty good. Next thing we're going to do is add this genius little method of keeping everything submerged and all the oxygen out of the mixture. And we're going to put inside of a heavy-duty Ziploc bag, we're going to put brine. And we use the brine, standard brine, 1 tablespoon salt to 1 cup of water, just in case it leaks. It won't ruin the ferment. But then we're going to seal it all up and put the lid on. And then we are going to label it, the date, always date the ferments. And then we're just going to leave it in the basement. And I'm going to begin testing it after about 10 days to see how sour it gets. But it will continue to get more and more sour and more fermented and crunchy and delicious the longer you leave it. So it's up to you how long you leave your ferments, but remember to test them. That's pretty much it, my friends. If you feel like you gained something from the video, give it a thumbs up. Also, leave a comment. First thing that comes to mind, just share your thoughts. And we will be starting the mushroom and microgreen videos here in about another week or maybe 2. So get your supplies if you don't have them already. You can utilize the links in the description to get the mushrooms, the microgreens, and the sprout seeds and stuff like that, because indoor growing season is just getting started, my friends. So big shout out to everyone using the link in the description to make a donation to the PayPal account. It is greatly appreciated, my friends.